Welcome to the Attack Action Podcast,
where we talk about friendship, fun times, and most importantly, flesh and blood. Here are your hosts, Taylor and Isaac.
What's up, Mitch?
Hey, Isaac.
You want to have a beer and talk some ProQuest?
One step ahead of you.
Taylor's off coaching high school basketball and not partaking in any of the ProQuests. So Mitch and I are going to have a chat about what we learned at during the first weekend of ProQuest season. There is a brand new set out, and there's been like one event, so we figured we could just sit down and discuss, what we anticipated going into it, and what we learned from it, which hopefully will be helpful for somebody who maybe attended one event or didn't attend any and is going to some this weekend, et cetera, et cetera. So
we're just trying to make sense of the week one madness. So
yeah, totally. It was kind of madness. There are a lot of different heroes. Mm-hmm. I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, pretty good diversity there.
Yeah, it was a very fun event. Okay, so first off, we do have a little bit of news. The calling that's taking place in Europe.
First off,
sound effect. The calling that is taking place in Europe is happening in Poland. So congratulations, Poland. Congratulations, Europe. They have, we kind of got the lion's share of the events over here, and I know they've been, chopping at the bit to get it some high level competition. So everybody enjoy that over there.
Yeah, tell us how it goes.
Yeah. You have any shout outs?
Yeah, I guess going into this event, I was short a couple of cards, and so I got on Discord and in a panic because it was too late for me to order more cards. I just kind of went on Discord and went, can somebody help me hook it up with like 3 even bigger than that's? And one of the judges at the event, I think it's Mal something on Discord. I'm sorry, bro, I forgot. But yeah, he said I'll hook it up, and when I got there, his buddy Oliver hooked it up with 3 copies, and I got to play with them. So that really helped, and I was just feeling really grateful, and just even in a kind of high stakes competition, that people are willing to share cards to help your potential opponent do better is really cool to see. So I was just really stoked on that, and it gave me really good vibes going into it. So yeah, definitely. And let's just shout out Forgotten Path in general. In Vacaville, they put on an excellent tournament. Their judges were super cool and super on it and very friendly, and the whole event was really, really enjoyable. It was really good to see all the NorCal players down there, and I just had a blast. It just really felt like most people are just about like community and playing the game. Yeah.
People weren't like, bitterly competitive and angry at each other. It was just like having a good time.
Yeah, I think I was. No, everybody that I lost to and everybody that I beat everybody was very friendly. So,
nice.
Yeah, good vibes all around. Great weekend.
Yeah, great job, Forgotten Path. So unfortunately, there's another event somewhere down there this weekend, but we'll be headed up to Portland to meet a couple friends of ours and play up there because there are 2 events up there, so that will make it worth our while. So we're coming, Portland. Watch out. Okay, so let's just dive right into the main topic. This ProQuest, our event was seemingly very diverse, but we do have some statistics from the first weekend, and as expected, Starvo, or Bravo, star of the show, made a splash.
Yeah, definitely had a big presence at the ProQuest we went to as well. I think out of 32 players, there was 6 of them, maybe more.
Is that it? That's pretty good. I mean, pretty low, relatively.
Yeah, but their presence was definitely felt. They did pretty good, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, according to this this chart we're looking at right here, there were 97 Starvos in all events this past weekend. The second most appearances was Viserai at 40, and then Prism at 25. Oh, sorry, Chain at 27, Prism at 25. And then comes Lexi at 16, and then Oldhim and Old School Bravo at 10 apiece. So, pretty strong showing for Starvo, Viserai, and then, Chain and Prism also were pretty strong there. It looks though like Starvo had an incredible top 8 conversion rate and event win rate, which is really incredible, especially considering how many Starvos are beating Starvos also.
Yep.
So that makes that showing pretty impressive. But it looks like a lot of people are, attacking the meta in different ways, right? Viserai is a really strong choice overall. Prism hopefully counters Starvo. There's just, to me, Bravo Star of the Show is like a very aggressive, very strong deck, but there are definitely ways to counter it, and it kind of felt to me like people were kind of testing the waters and trying different things out to see, how it would perform.
Yeah, it seems like there's maybe 2 schools of thought going into Starvo. One is to sideboard in unmovables and try to play defensively and just try to ride out his high roll turns. And then the other tactic might be kind of, I suppose 3. One might be more of an aggressive approach and just try to get on the front foot and get him to dump his hand. I don't know if that one's very successful. And then the third one would be just with hand disruption, stuff like Ice Lexi or Oldhim or things that punish your hand, not just your life total, for getting hit.
Yeah, definitely. I think the new star of the show really hates hand disruption. I think that's a pretty key way. Because I was leading up to this event, so I was gone for 2 weeks before this event. So back then, leading up to it, I was thinking about taking a more aggressive approach and like trying something a bit funky, trying to take people off or by surprise or off guard. But then when I got back from my trip right before this weekend, it was just like, Bravo's probably on average fairly strong into some of these aggressive decks just because of the high disruption. It's like 3 crippling crushes, 3 spinal crushes, 3 Oaken Olds. There's like a lot of cards that they can see and disrupt you before you kill them. So I personally reverted back to Ice Lexi and took that approach at this event. I was a bit unsure about Prism, kind of daunted by Viserai, but felt like I could get there. And, the big X factor for me was that I hadn't played against Starvo yet. And just in theory, I felt like I needed a way to beat that deck or to stand a chance against it. So I personally went for hand disruption. What were your thoughts leading up to this? How did you prepare, or you're looking at the meta?
Okay, so I guess I have to premise this with, I only play 3 characters or classes: Illusionist, Wizard, and Ninja, and that's just because of the card pool I have. And I'm too cheap to go out and buy another class. Okay.
Well, yeah, we all only play a few classes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, yeah, tested for probably, 3 weeks a month beforehand, twice a week. Just a couple games each time. Just got whomped by Bravo over and over and over again. With a variety of different classes, but yeah, definitely realized I needed to take, as I ran Katsu, I needed to take a more defensive stance there, because trying to race him, he just kind of didn't care. Like, you can threaten more damage with Katsu, and there's more tools now, but if he still has his 5-card hand and then just the Oaken Old machine starts, there's nothing you could do. So you need to be able to do something about Oaken Old and Spinal Crush, and yeah, you don't really have hand disruption as Katsu. So yeah, going into it, basically just had a sideboard of 9 defense reactions and just hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, and that saw you through in your first Starvo matchup, actually.
It did, yeah. Yeah, I got pretty fortunate there. I think he also wasn't running the Pummel Fang, which sucks. It's like on his off turns, you're still just gonna get pummeled. It's tough. Like even if you, and I think going forward, I might sight in maybe some more blues or just have more blues in my core, just so I can have more options to use unmovable. Because sometimes you're just dumping your whole hand to pay for it, which doesn't feel good because, they'll just pulse a Oakenold back or they'll have some other thing for you.
Yeah. Well, that is one thing about that deck, right? Is like if you block with a card from hand and a Flick Flack and then a combo card block Winter's Wail, they may maintain tempo, but they didn't really leak that much damage. So, Starvo's not a combo deck. The ceiling's, fairly set. So I think that's, not a bad line to take against it, really. Okay. So I guess let's just, let's dive right into the event and kind of walk through our matchups, like what we saw and our takeaways from them.
Sure.
All right. So who did you face round one?
Round one was a Katsu Mirror.
Nice.
That was super fun. Yeah.
Whoa.
We both had very similar deck lists and pretty similar approaches, which was basically just aggro and try to grab tempo. So it was just like punching each other in the face back and forth until we got to 10 life and went, oh yeah, right, we're supposed to block.
Did your game last 6 minutes?
It was pretty short, yeah. But I think towards the end of it, I think I started playing more 5-card hands. He started playing more 4-card hands, and I think I eventually got on the front foot there. And then I think he was a little green, and he did Gadachi pop cross trap into Surging Strike, and that turns off Mask. And so I just took the damage, and that gave me all the momentum I needed.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, unfortunate.
That's kind of, yeah,
it's not really intuitive, but
it's kind of easy to do. Like people, in Bolton, they'll break the gauntlets at the wrong time or whatever. It's fairly, unless you're well practiced at a deck, it's pretty easy to accidentally interrupt the combat chain. Mm-hmm. You're a old hat at Katsu, so that's like second nature, but
yeah,
it's not intuitive if you don't care about the chain.
There's weird things there with the chain.
Cool. Round one, I faced Dory Axes, which, with like Blade Runner especially and some of the new cards, the efficiency of that deck is like pretty impressive. But fortunately, my Taxes deck was like, it was good enough to disrupt. Like he could only output so much damage if you wanted to trade, and I was winning that race. Halfway through, he switched to Fatigue, just trying to block everything out. Which, like playing Lexi, that can, especially Ice Lexi, that can catch you off guard. But if you like identify it and then manage the threats in your deck better, it actually can be like pretty hard to fatigue that deck. Because I can like take a turn off. Like I can play Channel Lake Frigid, load an arrow, and arsenal a card. And then I'm set up for a 6-card hand that's like 3 wide with maybe a buff, just to get over his blocks. So, I got there in the end. That was a pretty good matchup for me. But, just kind of, I never thought I'd say this. It's kind of cool to see Dorinthia again.
Yeah, right? I was going to ask, how is Axe Dorinthia? I mean, it seems like kind of a sneaky... good pick, maybe? I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty impressive. Because if you Blade Runner an Axe, then it's like 2 and then 6 for 2 cards. So 8 for 2 cards. Blade Runner and a blue. Yeah, that's pretty good. And And then I think the spill blood turns and stuff can get like pretty out of control, or like they can have bigger turns like that. But again, I think I just had a good matchup. It's like I don't particularly want to block, and I could tax his hand and cost curve enough, to hamper it. So I think it was just a poor matchup for him. But yeah, I fully expect to see, because I think Warrior got some actual good tools in this set, and I fully expect to see, maybe not a ton of Dorintheas like in May, but at like upcoming armories and ProQuest and like tournaments, people love playing Warrior. I think that we'll see quite a few more Warriors and people exploring that class.
Yeah, I think it's a cool class, and one that has been missing from the meta for a long time. And I mean, it's not Dawnblade Dory.
Yeah.
The whole damned if you block, damned if you don't scenario, it doesn't quite apply the same way anymore, but
totally. But I mean, her ability still allows you to then swing the first axe again. If you're like getting really, really wild with it, you have to get go again each time. But again, now it's like hit and runs, blade runner. There's like a lot of ways to get go again. So,
right.
I think it can get pretty efficient that way. All right. Let's talk about round two.
Round two was, I faced a Channel Mart Heroic Briar.
Nice. Classic.
Yep, classic. Basically, my strategy going into it was just hammer down, just go as fast as you can and present as much damage as possible. And then if they manage to get Heroic out, then just try to go even faster. Or just really, make them like either think twice or just really get punished about taking damage to come at you with Mount Heroic, which is kind of how it went down. I think their first Mount Heroic, I ended up just taking it all on the face for like 14 or 15 damage, because I think he played it and then played just tried to play like 3-card hands, like, and then just pivot into the most efficient turns I could. But yeah, so I took the first Heroic basically just on the chin, and then came back at him hard, and then I think he was kind of getting down on life, took a bunch of damage to play out a second Heroic, and then like whiffed on a bunch of non-attack actions. So he basically had nothing to come at me with, but then like he took kind of too much damage to get it out anyways, so he was getting to be kind of Gadachi locked, and
Gotcha.
I think I was able to close it out with Break Tide, which was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Boy, the clock's really ticking when you get low against Gadachis.
Yeah, and well, it's cool too that the Break Tide is like a dominate that's also you can play Razor Reflex on, or pop your gauntlets on, or breaking scales. I mean, so that's pretty cool. I think it's a underrated, very powerful tool in Katsu's toolkit. And I was complaining about how Katsu didn't get anything in Everfest for a while. I was kind of unbearable. Even bigger than that and Break Tide are both very good cards.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Yeah, and something, because I played a Briar later on, something that I noticed about that deck is now that they can only make one embodiment of Earth, it's like a lot more manageable. Like, it's still a very powerful deck and can run you over, but the fact that if you choose to shift momentum, they can't just block for 6 with each card. It just blocks for 3 with each card.
Yeah.
So you can like choose a moment, or you can like choose a moment to deny him an embodiment and shift tempo, or you can choose a moment to, take some damage and shift, and it just doesn't feel like this impossible battle. Although honestly, the one embodiment of Earth is still like really good. Like all of their cards block for 3 or 4, which is like quite powerful. Good. Yeah. But
I wonder if there's a build out there that utilizes more block 3s to get to block 4.
Yeah, I think some of the Runeblade cards, or some of the elemental Runeblade cards, sometimes they put in there just for that. because it's functional and blocks for 4.
Okay, so how was your round 2?
I lost to Viscerai.
Yikes.
So I wasn't really sure about this matchup, and I knew that Viscerai was extremely powerful and like pretty aggressive. But I thought in theory I could win. This game I felt like I had a bit of like all red or all blue hands. Which sounds just like complaining, but I didn't walk away from it like taking too much away from it. Besides, like I was like, that felt like a little bit off. But I like learned, I just got to observe the game and, like put it in my pocket for later, right? Like now I've played this matchup, one more time, and I can, kind of see what to expect and try to adapt should I face another Viscerai later. Shout out to Jesse. Beat me round 2. I was like, well, now I'm 1-1. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, well, this is fun.
So did you find that your frostbite tokens and stuff were really hampering him, or?
Kinda. It's just like, Viscerai has quite a, like for a redline aggro deck, Viscerai has so much armor that it's like really hard to constantly tax them. They can kind of just use their equipment and like a card when you have just a medium turn. And then the deck outputs so much damage and is also able to bank damage in the form of rune chance.
Yep.
That it's like you can't keep a lid on it forever. And then when they do use their armor or whatever, then they come back at you for like, 10, 15, 20, whatever. So that's just kind of unavoidable. You just kind of have to try to, or like I try to kind of read what they're doing and, decide, am I going to save this good arrow for next turn and fire this mediocre one? Am I going to set up a 6-card hand, or am I going to, like really step on the gas right now? That's kind of like what I took away from it, is trying my best to keep a lid on it, I guess.
Yeah, that's hard to do against Viscerai.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a lot of tools, a lot of ways to discount cost of cards, a lot of ways to just get rune chance. Yeah, it's definitely the deck to beat right now.
All right, round 3, what'd you do?
Round 3 was Starvo.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, this was I don't know, it was kind of fun, but also just agony at the same time. He got Channel Lake Frigid out twice and got 2 counters on it both times. So I was freezing cold for 6 turns.
Just not doing much.
Yeah, just not doing a lot. So I sighted in Tunic and then sighted a bunch of defense reactions. I also run a couple energy pots. So like turn 1, turn 0, got energy pot out, stoked. And
nice.
Then Channel Lake Frigid. Can't use energy pot unless you pay for energy pot. And then we got my Tunic counter up. It was like, can't use your Tunic resource unless you pay for your Tunic resource. And so it was just had tons of assets on the board and then just couldn't use them turn after turn. But so I kind of went towards a kind of fatigue strategy. I went just like 3-card block or pitch for unmovable, or like just always try to end a turn with a defense reaction in arsenal. And and then just like kind of save like a Soulbead Strike or a Snatch or something, just something free that I could throw at him, or something cheap that I could pay for. And I think he was maybe getting a little aggressive, and a lot of times he would just take it, and I was able to keep my life total high. And I think, and then eventually, just kind of waited for him to have a bad turn, like a, dominate a Autumn's Touch or something, and then just held my hand, and then I was able to put the pedal down and get him in the end. I don't think he was really running many pummels either. He wasn't doing the pummel fang thing. So I think if he was doing that, that would have been terrible.
You wouldn't have had enough defense reactions to weather all that.
Yeah, and
I think for Starvo though, it's like a tough call because if you want to maximize the amount of times you hit their reaction, because they have to have all the attacks as well, right? So then if you want Starvo's ability to trigger, putting in 6 pummels in addition to all your attacks, like really waters down the deck. So I think that's the approach a lot of people are taking at the moment.
yeah, so I'd say I got kind of lucky, but I guess kind of played it right also. So yeah, I ended 3-0 on that, which got me a lock for top 8, which was pretty sweet.
Nice. Yeah, you're sitting up at table 1.
Yeah, first time I've been at table 1.
Sick.
I wouldn't be there for long.
Well, you're essentially locked for top 8, which is pretty great. So this was a 32-player event, so we only played 5 rounds of Swiss. One more player, and I think we would have played 6, but I think a relatively small event, or, like some events, I think this past weekend had, 60-some players or something in that range. So yeah, we had 5 rounds.
Yeah, which makes 1 5-0, 5 4-1s, and then 2 3-0s. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
3 and 2s.
3 and 2s. Sorry.
Yep.
And then the 2 people who went 3-0 and then lost to, I guess if that happens, then they'd be the 2 that get in.
Yeah. So round 3, I played a chain. What's up, Brooks? So I was a little apprehensive about this matchup because I feel like it can kind of go either way. Fortunately now, chain doesn't have plunder run anymore, and they, can kind of whiff a bit more on their banishes, which is fortunate. But that deck's pretty resilient. Like trying to tax the resources in their hand, they still have card advantage and a lot of resources usually, and a lot of armor. So fortunately, I didn't get blown out of the water, and I kind of closed it out in the end. Pretty straightforward. At least I'd played that matchup before. It went pretty well in my favor.
Were you running Arcane Barrier 1 or 2 into him, or
Nope.
just Spell Void 2 on the Shock Charmers? Or?
Yeah, so I'm like kind of unsure. I think I need a null rune against Viscerai, just because, like in the beginning, like turn 0, if they go first, then I can block some free damage, which is worth something. And then towards the end, I don't just auto die. But the problem I run into is like not having any armor. Running Perch Grapplers is like really valuable to block like Command and Conquer, or some of there's like a couple Runeblade cards for 4 that if they hit you, you discard a card. So if I don't have any way to block that, it takes 2 cards no matter what. And Perch Grapplers can like really bail you out against some of those cards that, are pretty detrimental. And then Shock Charmers, it's like worth 2 Spell Void at the end. And, again, it's like valuable in terms of like threatening, multiplying your hit effects, but also just towards the end of the game, if we're both at 7 life and I come in with an arrow for 5, they can't let it hit at all, because I could just dump my hand into Shock Charmers and like maybe kill them.
Right.
Or,
And kind of rescues you in a 3 of a kind hand where you maybe don't have enough arrows. And
you can dump your resources into it. But I'm thinking of running Bracers against Viscerai for that reason. Because also on 3 of a kind turns, sometimes you run into like you can't load your bow anymore. So with Bracers up, you have a null rune and then you can pop it later to have a bit more powerful of a turn. And there's many games in which Bullseye Bracers will equal more damage in the game than Shock Charmers. It's just kind of the threat of Shock Charmers at the end kind of cripples them. They're at 4 life, they can't take 2 to then like seize tempo, because you'll just Shock Charmers them. So that definitely has value. But anyway, I know Chain still won some events. I know Tarek Patel is playing Chain and won his event. that deck is still really, really strong. The go again on a stick, hand advantage, or card advantage, whatever you want to call it, and super armor. It's just like a very sweet combo.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Yep. Yeah. Carrion Husk is still very good. Probably the best armor in the game.
Yeah.
Well, should we move on to round 4, or would you like to take a brief segue and maybe talk about some of the spice you put in your deck? Because we're still slogging our way through the field. Did you have anything that might be considered kind of abnormal or weird for your typical Lexi deck?
This is disappointing, but no.
Fair enough.
I mean, Fatigue Shot is like fucking awesome. That card is so good because at best, like, it's chopping, Bravo's attacks in half. And at worst, it's like you're paying 2, unfortunately, because you have to load your bow, but you're like paying 2 for like 5 or 6 and then minus 2 or 3 or 4 from their attack. So it's just like really efficient damage exchange. And a lot of times, decks will come in at like a 4 breakpoint with a hit effect, and then it chops it into a 1 card block for you. So it makes it a lot more manageable, especially since I don't run main defense reactions. But no, unfortunately, like with little time to prepare, I just put in like my sideboard had like 3 take covers, a rain razors or 2, and some blizzards, and battering bolts, which I'll definitely keep. But it was like all these cards that I thought I might need as I learned throughout the day. If I decided that take covers against like, just that like random block and then reload my arsenal is valuable against like Katsu or Aggro Viscerai or maybe even Starvo, then I could like plug them in if I wish I'd had them. But I like barely use my sideboard except the battering bolts throughout the day. So, it was pretty boring, I guess. So the one card I ran was Red Winter's Bite, because you need a certain ice threshold, and I like prefer even more ice cards than, I don't know, maybe your average Lexi player, just to like always hit that fuse and always be able to arsenal one. And I chose Red Winter's Bites in particular because it doesn't have anti-synergy with Chilling Ice Vein. Like if you play a blue or a yellow and then a Chilling Ice Vein, they can pitch a blue and only use one or lose 1 card.
Right.
So if I play the Red Winter's Bite, they have to lose an entire card, and then if I do happen to have a Chilling on that turn, it strips another card. And so, it makes your deck more red, but with that line of thinking, it was just, I'm like prioritizing stripping cards because of Starvo, basically. So I guess that's my spice. Red Winter's Bite. I don't know how spicy that is.
That's fine.
Seems pretty cold and mild.
Yeah.
But what about you? How was your build performing? Were you you're pretty happy with it at this point?
Yeah, I'd say the only real spicy things I had in there were 2 energy pots, and I think those performed really well. I think 2 games in Swiss, I managed to get them out on turn 0, which just felt amazing.
Yeah, it really seems worth it then, doesn't it?
Yeah, super good. I think in the first 3 or so turns, if you manage to see it, then I'd make the effort to put it out. Otherwise, I would try to Katsu discard it or just pitch it for Kodachis. Worked really well. It just really, it's like another Heart and Cross Trap for Surging Strike, or it's just really hurts your opponent's brain to think about, oh, he could just have the money for the Razor at any time and keep going, which is great. I think that there were some matches I didn't need it to close out the game, but I was just so happy to have it there because it just expands the options in your hand so much.
Yeah, in your threat level. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Also, on the flip side, just playing it, because you've gone into me red leg tap, Kodachi, Kodachi, and then I just the whole time I'm just trying to calculate how do I, stem this tide or this flood? How do I manage to not have Mitch blow me away right now? And then you just block something out, and then you just end with an energy pot. I'm like, shit, I just dumped my hand and you're better set up.
Yeah.
Arsenal energy pot.
It's
So
great.
even in that circumstance, like getting it out there, if you play it in the correct way, it's like not really that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you're going to dump your hand and play energy pot, that's a great play.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with that. I also ran Flock of the Featherwalkers, which I thought was probably my biggest underperformer. I had several hands of like 2 flocks and like 2 E-strikes, and it was just like, this requires a lot of cards and doesn't do a lot of damage. So yeah, those are a little disappointing. I'm definitely not going to run 3 of them in my new builds. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely got clogged up with those sometimes. I thought I needed the Quicken tokens, but with even bigger than that, you really don't.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's your like all-star. Well, we can talk about that later. But
Yeah. Okay, moving into round 4.
Yep.
Go for it.
So now I'm 2-1, I guess, right? And I sit down across from a Briar, or I was like, I'm playing Lexi, and he was like, shit, I'm on Briar, and I was like, oh, nice, this is just great. But it took me a while to get some footing in that game. I went down 40-22 before I could like do anything or like claw a foothold. I think I like had some weird hands, and he was like using his armor and his, friggin' embodiment of Earth, and just like really doing well. Cause I didn't take in all that damage to like have full control of the game. I mean, I'd worked through his armor, which is like a big part of that, but at that point I was like, whoa, I might lose this. This is like pretty gnarly. But fortunately, that deck, it's like, I don't know. I haven't piloted that deck that much, but they're also just these turns, because they run these blue earth cards to get channel out. And it's like, there's these turns where you just have these shitty blue earth cards with no channel, and it like doesn't do that much.
Yeah, you kind of fizzle.
I went first against him though and set up a 6-card hand, and then he fused Bramble Spark CNC'd me for 10.
Ouch.
Which was kind of indicative of how the first half of that game would go. But then it eventually leveled out, and I, managed to get control and close it out. So I ended that one 3-1, and again, in only 5 rounds of Swiss, so I was like, I'm actually like doing pretty good here. I still had to win the next game to top 8, but I was like having fun. I was winning games. I was like enjoying this deck. Cause again, this deck I brought, it was like, I felt like it was a good call into like some of the decks, but again, just like, I like know how to pilot it, which like, it's like a medium difficult deck to pilot as well. So like really being comfortable piloting it, and it's like been upgraded with Everfest, so it's different, but still that kind of carries you a long way. Versus, like, if I picked up Axe's Dory, I would probably just get annihilated. But, so that was, like, another reasoning behind, I'm just gonna go with what I know.
Yeah, that was kind of my reasoning for taking Katsu, too.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I was experimenting with Prism, trying to make this kind of non-light illusionist that was really aggressive, and it just didn't work. And there's a lot of new card interactions like Fractal Replication that were really frustrating. Like, oh, this card's super awesome. And then it's like, oh, wait, there's all these things that turn it off. So I got kind of like a sour taste on Prism. I was like, I'm just going to go Katsu.
Nice. Yeah. I figure after this ProQuest season, I'm going to like, I'm going to like dig in real deep to something weird and like try to learn or build something new and get really,
Turtle Wizard, dude.
Yeah, maybe new Kano. Yeah, nice. Totally. So, anyway, it's just like, it's tough and wonderful with this whole new card pool, but like going into the meta. I really enjoyed this actually, playing weekend 1, knowing very little. Like weekend 3 is probably going to be a bit more dialed, and players are going to know what to expect and be, target things and all that. But the first weekend was pretty fun, I think. So how was your round 4?
I went up against Prism. Shout out to Oliver there. He's the one who loaned me the cards in the beginning, which was cool. So I was feeling like I was favored as Katsu. My plan was just to kind of race him out and kind of ignore the auras and just try to present too many threats for him to ignore.
What's up, Oliver?
Yeah. So it didn't end up going that way. I think like turn 0 or turn 1 or something, I ended up going at him with Surging Strike. Had a pretty good hand, but then he played Soul Shield. No, not, is it Soul Shield? Yeah. The defense reaction for 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So blocked it out. And I was like, oh, okay, I still got cards to play. And then he played 2 tomes with Vestige of Sol turned on. Got Genesis out. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, and so I like threw some more damage at him, but then, yeah, then he had Genesis, and then he threw out Haze Bending, and then it just like avalanched into, and then I think the very next turn he got another tome also, and then that ended up in a Merciful, and then it was like, so I like took an off turn to pop Genesis because I was like too much for the beginning of the game, and then then it was like Merciful and Shimmering, and it was just like, and then he came at me with a Miraging Metamorph. It was like I had a CNC in my hand and I decided to pop it, which was stupid, so he made another Merciful, which was bad. So anyway, I was just like drowning in auras, just like so my plan did not work out.
That's like Prism can do that, like even in a you favored matchup that could just happen.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's this threshold of auras that once they get, if they have like 3 auras out and like 4 spectral shields, it doesn't matter how good or how favored you are.
No.
You're just like pretty.
Yeah, and all you got to do is like hold 1 yellow to just swing at you with 8 Gadashis instead of your 2.
Yeah.
And so that didn't go well, but it was educational.
Nice. Well, at least you learned something, I guess.
Yeah, why not? Here's to you, Oliver.
Yeah, shout out to Oliver. He's a very, very good Prism player. I actually did not play against any Prisms, and I'm next few days I'm going to test that matchup out, actually, because I'm like pretty curious if I can like flex my deck, like how disruptive I can be to that deck, and if I can flex my deck, I guess powerful enough.
On Ice Lexi?
Yeah, but like if I can kind of up my damage output maybe, or like if I can have the right ratio of disruption to like 3 attacks a turn or whatever, and like maybe race as well.
Yeah,
that's my plan as well, race, because I don't have a better one.
Yeah, I think it's important going into Prism to have, I don't know, attack reactions or some other trick up your sleeve to get kind of over the top of an efficient block to get rid of the spectral shields, because Prism definitely is going to use defense reactions from Arsenal to protect their spectral shield stock. So you have to find a way to kind of get around that in some cheeky way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at least with Ice or Ice Lexi, I make a Frostbite every turn, so a defense reaction costs them 2 cards. Yeah. But they can pitch a blue to pay for a sink and make a spectral shield, so it's not as detrimental to them, or they could use the rest to pay for an aura, but at least they're not allowed to just.
Yeah, I think even if they do manage to make a spectral shield, pitching a blue for like a sink, I think that's actually still good, because you're a lot of times having to throw a yellow and make a shield in order to swing with all of your auras. So if you're able to kind of tax their soul in that way, or to tempt them to use their soul in a way that's not really efficient for them, I think that's maybe a good strategy, because if they don't have anything in soul, but they have a bunch of stuff out, it's definitely not as intimidating.
Right, good point. And I mean, the dream is to like fire 2 battering bolts at them and to just kick the shit out of them that way. But I have a feeling that's not how it's going to go. All right. So you're 3-1. 3-1 at this point.
Yep.
And I'm also 3-1, but lost round 2. So how was your last round of the day?
Wasn't great. Lost again. Spoiler. I was against a Starvo who came out with a very different strategy. I threw in. I kind of did my same thing. I threw in like a bunch of defense reactions, and he was like basically standing watching the last game I played against Starvo, and like, saw how I sideboarded in because I was at the top table. So he was prepared for me, which and he basically did a kind of a fatigue strategy and just kind of waited me out. I don't think there was like any big turns until after midway through the game. He just kind of really made me like pay to have my turns in life. I mean, he would just like lots of pummels over the top of like little attacks. And just really like chip me away, and knew that with so many defense reactions in my deck, I wouldn't be able to present that threatening of a turn, and I didn't. Tip of the cap to him for having a different proactive strategy that, I don't know.
Nice.
And it worked.
Yeah, in Katsu, you really pay for your defensive capabilities by sacrificing your offense.
Yeah,
or your
absolutely.
Your offensive consistency.
Yeah, or like I'd be sitting with like 2 sinks in hand, going, "Wow, I really need him to attack me." And be like, "Not going to Arsenal."
Yeah, and that's, I mean, Crown of Seeds is such a powerful tool, right? Because you can choose to block out and like send your Arsenal Oakenold to the bottom, and cycle it for next time. And just like block with the card you draw. Or you can even Arsenal a defense reaction, and then if you don't have, if you don't need it, you can cycle that and draw a card for a more offensive turn. It's just like,
yeah,
it's a pretty nuts tool that Starvo can also employ very effectively. Okay, so my last round was the Mirror Ice Lexi, which is always just the funniest. Game. It's like all tempo. I mean, it's just a bunch of hit effects, and neither of you can block very well. So it's pretty entertaining. I played against Nicholas, who was an Azalea main like me way back in the day. So, I don't know. I never like sitting down across from Alexi because I feel like we're on the same team. And
yeah, I feel the same way about Katsu, and especially Wizard.
Yeah, totally. Like, we're not here for each other. We're trying to spike everybody else. But so I pulled that one out. I'd actually played the Mirror. I don't know, maybe like 5 times or something. Actually, just because it's pretty interesting and pretty fun. And we played a game on camera. Go check out our YouTube page. Against Yuki one time. So I don't know. I guess that's not that many reps, but I'm like familiar with how the Mirror goes, and I think that gave me, just a good understanding of like the tempo management of like when to block and when to seize my moment and all that. About halfway or more through the game, he, started maybe prioritizing pressuring me instead of having an Arsenal. So I could kind of pick these moments to like maybe half block and then threaten him back and then get an Arsenal or get a 6-card hand and then, maybe push tempo over a couple turns. And, that really won it for me.
Nice.
So here we are. We both made top 8.
Yeah.
And you made top 8 with Katsu, which I think is just awesome. I mean, Katsu's kind of been on the sidelines for quite a long time, right? Like, he was a contender against Chain, but not favored. Just one of the decks that could in theory
fast enough. Yeah,
could in theory beat Chain, or like could beat Chain, but not over 50. And then the Whirlwind Nightmare that was Briar was just like better than every other aggro deck. So Katsu's been a bit of an underdog for a while here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say he definitely got some upgrades here in Everfest. While he's not like top tier up with Viserai or Starvo, I think he's in the wings. I think it's a pretty playable deck. I think he really can flex a very aggressive strategy now with even bigger than that into the Torrent of Tempo line, or just soul beads or snatches or E-strikes. There's just a lot of things that get turned on by having that quicken token on a stick, basically, which is great. And just like the added threat of those Gadachis into those even bigger than that is pretty great.
Yeah, because that's triggered off of any attack.
Yeah,
Kadachi's included.
Yeah, you basically want it. Yeah, you basically want a Gadachi and do it, because after that, I think it counts the damage you do for the turn. So
gotcha.
Yeah, and all the ninja attacks are like fairly low. So yeah, you want to build all your blues to be 2 attacks or I guess non-attack at all. So that leaves out a lot of blue combo cards like Whelming Gust Wave and Rising Knee. But anyways, yeah, I think the new tools, even bigger than that, and the Torrent of Tempo line is what I'm going to focus on. Maybe going in the next ProQuest.
Yeah, because I mean, way back in the like Arcane Rising meta or Welcome to Wraith meta, it just felt like very defensive, right? So cards like Torrent of Tempo or Soulbead were just kind of a liability, losing your go again. But I think a lot more decks nowadays find it a lot harder to block for 5 and also have their functional turn. And then if they do, they sacrifice quite a lot. So I think those cards got a bit better.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, having the Quicken token going into them, just that guarantee, makes them like, I don't know, maybe above curve cards when they don't have conditional go again.
Totally.
So they're pretty great, but still, like, Katsu does need to hit eventually to get the other combo pieces.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it still sucks to have opponents like block out your first attack and then you can't fetch your combo, but at the same time, like, they're dumping cards, so say thank you. And then just I try to build my decks more able to go down like multiple paths, even though you start with one thing. Just being able to pivot to some other combo line that maybe uses generics or whatever. Like if you go Torrent Tempo gets blocked, then you go E-Strike. You adapt. And I think that's what Katsu is like really good at.
Totally. You're just in a lose-lose situation playing against Katsu, because it's like, if I block the surging or the leg tap or whatever, it doesn't mean I shut down your turn. You're still going to come at me with the rest of your hand. It's just like I blocked the fetch for now, which is, the tough question you ask like literally every turn.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like, I think that's where the deck I brought, especially with the flocks and stuff, like, would kind of falter a little bit, where if you didn't get that fetch and if you didn't have enough, or if you didn't get a even bigger than that trigger, then you would kind of get stuck with an extra card or two they didn't play, which definitely doesn't feel good, because usually you're taking a bunch of damage to do it.
Right.
And then flocks block for 2. All right. I really thought flocks are cool. I keep going back and forth. It's like my love-hate card. I want it to be good, but it takes 3 cards to play.
Totally. I hate that card. Just because way back in the day for like Azalea especially, which had such a hard time getting go again, it's like, oh, this hero really incentivizes you to Arsenal, right? I can just like play Flock, Arsenal card, and then have a Quicken token and like play 2 arrows next time. And you're just living the dream. It's like everything I want to do. But like you said, that's a 3-card hand, and
for 5 damage.
Yeah.
And they know what you have in your arsenal. Yeah.
Totally. And then the reality is, you're like stuck with 2 flocks and, some other 2 blocks and like no synergy, or I don't know. It's really good in, say chain, or like decks that, maybe you're like augmenting the go again, like maybe Ninja, but it's just like, sometimes it's a bit too cute.
Yeah, I found with even bigger than that, they definitely fought against each other. Like if you did that turn where you arsenaled a card and then you drew up and you have it even bigger than that, it was like, well, I can't do Gadachis now because I'm just burning that Quicken token to maybe make another one if he doesn't block. Or like, you get leg taps or something or serving strikes. Like, well.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels really bad to burn your Quicken token on nothing after you spent so much to get it there. So, anyways, let's not hang up on poor card choice for...
Well, it's important, but we can reflect on that at the end in a bit. So your quarterfinals, how did you feel in the top 8? Were you, did you feel more pressure for this game or was it just exactly the same?
I think I kind of did like a mental trick on myself where I was just like, I feel like I won already just getting there. So I don't know, maybe didn't approach it as seriously as I should have. I was going into Viserai. I've seen him play a couple games. Like, he was pretty good. I think it's like maybe a winnable matchup, but you've got to like draw really well as Katsu and play it really tight. And it just, I think the biggest mistake I made going into it was not having Null Rune, Arcane Barrier in there, and that the plan was just to race him. But I think against Viserai without having Arcane Barrier, like he smells blood in the water. Like he's just gonna come at you with everything he's got, and like the ease of math in his mind is just like so much easier knowing that all of your arcane is gonna hit. So just gonna turn everything on, and all you have to do is like make rune chance, and all that is just damage in the bank. Which
like all those meet and greet and dread triptych, like all those triggers are just always online.
Yeah, and then just all the cards that I don't know, like Revel in Runeblood, is that it?
Yeah,
like all those cards end up being like above curve when you don't have Arcane Barrier.
The 0 for 5.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. So, I think Arcane Barrier 1 at least is definitely required, just to make it like a little bit more mentally taxing on him. Otherwise, it's just like, I think the raw damage output of Viserai just beats Katsu, and that's like what I experienced. It wasn't a particularly close game, but I made a top 8, and it was cool.
Again, he has quite a bit more armor than you, so it's like stop that many hit effects and have that much more life. So it's also just not quite an even aggro race. They start a little bit ahead just in that sense.
Yep, I agree there. So yeah, how was your round 5?
Well,
round
lost
6.
in the quarters, bummer. I played a Starvo for the first time, and it went kind of as I had hoped. Man, that shield though is a pain in the ass.
The Ram's Head?
The new one, the block for 2.
Oh, the Stalag.
Or you can block twice and you get a frostbite each time. Yeah. So that was pretty tough. Just because he would block and then I would have to like pitch the card I was going to arsenal to attack again. But fortunately that doesn't last that long. In this matchup, I only won by 2. I had 2 life at the end, but towards the end I was kind of using my life as a resource to set up cards set up turns that I could go over the top and, close it out. Cause I don't know, as Lexi, it's a bit tough. You don't really, in certain situations, you don't really want to just maintain your high life, but then swing for like 10 a turn because they can just keep blocking and you're just kind of wasting your resources. Sometimes you take a bit of damage to then like arsenal, an Endless Arrow or a Frostfang or something, so then the next turn you go 3 wide to close it out, because you don't have any win conditions except for the like Weave Ice Dominate or the like big, the wide turns that require some setup, because even a 3 of a kind turn you can only load your boat twice, so it requires having been set up. But the game felt like it could go it could go either way. Like there was this one moment he had to take 1 damage from my fatigue shot for the awakening to make enough seismic tokens to play crippling for free. So then crippling comes in for 6, fortunately. But if there was like 1, if he had 1 less life when I threatened him with that fatigue shot, he could have blocked the fatigue shot and then just awakening crippling for 11. So it I felt like I was winning the whole game and was pretty in control. Like the hand disruption, the taxing, the fatigue shots, like all were just money. But it definitely felt like if there was a turn or two that, I guess if I had bricked a bit more on a turn or two, I felt like I very much could have lost. So, it felt like a good matchup for me, and felt like what I wanted, what I expected, but it doesn't feel super secure. Like against like Lightning Briar, it feels like pretty secure. There's only so much that can happen. And then against Starvo, it just feels like you could just get blown out at any second.
Yeah.
So,
once he gets rolling, it's...
Yeah. Well, we'll see how, future testing goes and future matchups go. But I was, like, very happy with it. But it was, just walking a fine line there. So then in my my semifinals match, I went up against Ice Lexi again. It turns out we had both beaten our Starvo opponents and met again in the semifinals. And that match kind of went the same. It was a bit closer, but I won that one as well, fortunately. I also was able to choose. I was 4-1 at the end, so I was a higher seed than both my opponents. So I was able to choose to go second against Starvo and second against Ice Lexi, which is weird. Usually I like to go first, but in those two matchups, going second's pretty clutch, I think. So I beat Ice Lexi again, and then I played in the finals against Viscerai. And I hadn't played this player before. This was a different Viscerai. But, I had an idea of what was going to happen. And
So how are you feeling going in? Are you nervous? Are you hungry? Are you tired? What's going on in the head of Isaac?
So this is a bit embarrassing, but I was pretty tired. I have this thing at these events that, like, I just have a bit of brain fog by the end of the day. Like at Nationals, it was 8 rounds each day. And the last round was like by far not my strongest. And the same thing here is like my 8th round. And, I don't know. It's something I maybe need to work on as far as, I don't know, playing an easier deck, thinking less hard, just like having more mental stamina for the event. Maybe I'll just get used to it, but I'm just like, I'm not like super sharp. Also in the quarters and the semis, my game ended and ours was the last game. So then my next round just started instantly, which was like a bit tough. Before the finals, I like stood up and walked outside for 2 minutes just to like, not walk important. Right into the next game.
Get some blood moving.
Yeah. So I was just like a bit worn out. I think from playing. I'd also like, seen some friends the night before. I was like not behaving like a pro athlete and getting 12 hours of sleep and all that stuff. But
who does that?
I don't know. Smart people. But yeah, you were visiting your brothers the day before.
Oh yeah, I was playing board games till 2:00 in the morning.
Nice. Well, that's what we're here for. Play board games, So anyway, I was going into it. I was feeling pretty good though, right? Like I didn't think I was favored, which I like still think I'm not, but I know what the Viscerai deck can do. I know what my deck can do. I'm like tired, but I'm not like that out of it. It's just like I'm just going to play the game, right? And it went pretty well. There is this this point in the middle where I go down 29-11, which he kind of reads what's happening, and he like sacrifices having an arsenal, and just like he breaks his Scalita to have like a big, because he knows I'm holding cards, so he just like tries to really put on the gas, and
pile it on.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I just like took it. So at that point, it felt pretty bad. Because 11 is just like not much. Like Lexi likes to trade life for tempo, and having 11 life at that point, I was like, this is not really enough wiggle room.
Right.
But I'd worked through most of his armor. Agravisferi has like a few block 2s. I think I had a pulse on that turn. So then I kind of came back and got to this point where it was 9-6. I'm up 9-6. And I had a bit of a misplay. And this comes with a caveat. Like, I hate saying that, like, because I hate when people are like, oh, if I had not misplayed this, I would have won the game. You know, because that's like not true at all. If I hadn't misplayed the game, yeah, I mean, sometimes I guess so. But I just feel like people like to say that a lot. And it like really takes away from your opponent if it's actually kind of a gray area. So my situation was I missed the trigger. I played a Chilling Ice Vein, which he blocked. And then I played a Fatigue Shot. And I missed the trigger for the chilling on the Fatigue Shot.
Right,
so with
it's
that,
still part of the chain.
Right. Or part of the turn. Doesn't even have to be a chain.
Oh,
but,
really? Okay.
Yeah. So he was able to arsenal a Revel in Runeblood instead of having to discard it. He actually also missed the trigger and should have just blocked with the Revel.
Right. Also, is the judge supposed to inform you on that, or is it the player's responsibility to...
No, so like an illegal play, a judge steps in.
Mm-hmm. But if you
interrupts
miss something, then they
but a
don't have
miss
to.
trigger
They just let it go.
Yeah. And something happened where a player watching after the fact said, oh, you missed the chilling trigger. Mm-hmm. And then, like totally innocently, it was just like watching the game, and that's what happened. And thought, like it's a missed trigger, it should be enforced or caught or whatever. But then the judge said, oh no, you can't say anything, it's up to them to catch it. So then we were kind of in this weird thing where even if I had caught it within time and was able to rewind the game, I couldn't now. But odds are I would have not noticed anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that mattered much. Yeah. But anyway, so say my opponent also knew about the trigger and blocked with the Revel. Then it would be 9-8, and I would have full tempo, and he didn't have any armor. Which would put me in a pretty good position, but I still may not have won the game. I don't know. But instead it was 9-6, and he had the Revel, and he was able to, do the Revel Rosetta for 11, 1 for 11.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
bananas,
neat.
Yeah.
So anyway, and again, I don't know, he might have had misplays earlier in the game or inefficiencies or whatever, but just from my side of the table in my brain, that's the big, tired end of the day mistrigger that I had that, would have put me in a very good position. And I definitely regret, just because it's playing Lexi, it's kind of hard to keep track of those, but I always when I play out cards, I just tell my opponent so they don't, I'm not trying to shark them. I don't want them to miss something or have to read everything, or, I'm just this arrow, 2 hit effects, and I always do that. And I never miss them. And, when I have a fatigue shot trigger, I set it sideways so that we don't miss it on the next turn. And I'm really good about that. So unfortunately, kind of the only time, or, one of the only times I miss it is just when you're tired at the end of the day. So
yeah, I thought there might have even been a second one in there that was missed, but I don't remember.
I have this sneaking suspicion I missed a fatigue shot much earlier, but unsure. Anyway, so that was a very tight game no matter how you look at it. Very well played by my opponent. Very good game. And, it's unfortunate to miss that, but like my opponent played very well. He was very good. It's a very good deck. I don't know. He might beat me the next 3 times we play. I'm kind of unsure. But I got second in a 32 player event with, my favorite hero, and it was great. Yeah. Again, but I really, and again, like throughout the whole day and even in top 8, it was just like, I play this game. It's like a board game, right? It's like fun to play a board game with friends and, with a good community and stuff. And, it never like lost that feel at that store, which was just like really cool.
Yeah, it was great. All in all, it was a great day. Best of luck to everybody out there, especially, I believe it's Caleb playing Viserai. So good luck to him in his next tournament. So, all in all, great day. Thanks to everybody who played. It was just a great experience, and I can't wait for next weekend. So
just a couple takeaways as a Katsu player. Like Taylor and I don't give the Katsu experience very much on this cast, but Katsu's like in a decent position now, right? Like maybe not S tier or whatever, but definitely has some degree of power. How would you rank Katsu? And like, what do you think his strengths are? And, I don't know, are there any decks you're like really worried about?
Sure. I think I'm personally like a very aggro-minded Katsu. I don't really have much experience playing control Katsu. But I think he can be a really consistent aggro deck. I think he can consistently pump out 14 plus every turn if it's all there. Sometimes there's off turns.
But you threaten a pretty high ceiling too.
Yeah, the ceiling does get higher. I think with the new tools he got, I think he's I don't know, maybe probably, definitely behind Viserai and Starvo, but probably like on par with Prism and Chain and Lexi, maybe. I think he does struggle a bit into certain matchups where hand disruption is probably the best way to go. So, like Starvo, I don't think is not a very good matchup. That one's really dicey. I haven't really figured that one out. I don't know. That one just kind of seems like a dice roll, or just hoping you get the unmovable in Arsenal for the right time.
Well, 9 defense reactions. You're not going to be dead before you find one.
Yeah, I'm definitely reconsidering running that many defense reactions.
Oh yeah.
Especially in the build I have, I flick flack into this meta. I don't think is very good. Aside from maybe Lexi or another Katsu, I don't think they're really that good because there's not many decks that are threatening wide. If your strategy is to go aggro as fast as you can against CMH Briar, then you don't really want to see defense reactions. So even though they go wide, you don't really care.
Plus some of their wide is Viserai is just a card or two in Rosetta or Rune Chance. It's sometimes their second attack isn't going to be for 5, so the flick flack benefit doesn't even pay off.
Right. I thought it would be better into Starvo, say play it on their big dominate turn and then have a card to shut down the Frost Hammer. I found that wasn't really very good because especially if you're getting Oaken Olded or Spinal Crushed or something, you're probably not even going to have the combo card to block with anyways. and they might just arsenal a card instead of swing at you. So yeah, I'd say surprisingly, Katsu's arguably one of his best cards. Flick Flack is maybe not very good to this meta. What else?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about so there's...
I could just go on for Katsu forever, but okay.
No.
Another time.
I'm staying on Katsu. I just mean, we talked about Viscera and Starve a little bit. We're also looking at Prism, Chain, and Lexi, right? So
yeah. Okay, so definitely not stoked on Lexi, especially Frost Lexi. Lot of disruption there, which sucks. Like, I learned going into Starvo and getting Frostbit and getting Channel Lake Frigid and, also the Crown and Shield. Just like those resource taxes are really hard on Katsu. And Lexi presents like a lot of... It's kind of similar to Katsu in a way. Like, you're presenting a lot of things at 4 and 5 damage that really suck for your opponent to deal with. And so that's where, like, maybe a Flick Flag would be good, but if you're getting Frostbit, then they kind of suck too. So yeah, I'm definitely worried about Lexi. Chain, I think, is kind of more of a race. Prism is tough. Like, if you get on the front foot and go for it, you can make it. But if they get the tome plays and get all the auras out, you're just... I don't really know if there is a strategy out there to deal with Prism once she gets going. I think you just kind of have to beat her to it.
I mean, aside from the high rolls, though, right? Like, I feel like, just in theory, you do have a fair game into Prism. So long as they don't triple tome you or whatever.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I think Katsu's got a chance. I think he definitely represents, like, kind of the old school aggro, and I wish he had a few more tricks to, like, punish a player for taking damage other than just the potential to take more damage.
Oh, yeah.
Some
like
sort of, like...
consuming volition or a chilling ice vein or some sort of hit effect in there.
Something, yeah, like a 9-point palm heart exploding technique or something, like something that would...
Oh, yeah, hit and your heart explodes.
Yeah, it's a ninja. Come on. Like, you're going to break some knees or something here. Come on. Maybe the next set. Who knows? We'll go to Mysteria and figure it out. All right, how about you and Lexi?
I mean, you did beat a Starvo and made top 8, which is pretty sweet, Proactive game plan, know your deck. Those are strengths as well.
Yeah, I think I pretty much, with my 9 defense reactions and 2 CNCs and 2 smashing good times. So it's basically like a core 60 plus a splash for Prism or Dash or Starvo.
Oh, yeah, I had 2 smashing good times as well. I wasn't even sure what I'd take out for him or how I'd handle that, but I didn't have to play a Dash, so...
she was in the top 8.
Yeah, totally.
So...
Yeah, so for me, I think Lexi is... So here's my hot take. Oldhim is dead. Sorry, Oldhim players. No offense. But it's like... With Viscerai and Prism at the top, those are both really hard matchups for Oldhim. And even Starvo, right? Like, Oldhim just excels at soaking up, like, go wide or aggro damage. He doesn't even have... I mean, you can, like, Earth React and Crown, I guess. But then if you Crown... you don't have a defense react in Arsenal. It's just like Dominate for 9 or 11. He does have staunches and stuff, but it's like Oldhim does not excel even at that matchup. So to me, Oldhim's still a very powerful deck, but in this meta, I think just like comes up short. I don't think it's out there. So, following that logic, That's like the worst matchup for Lexi. I hate playing into Oldhim.
Yeah,
So-
as Katsu, also Oldhim is basically an auto loss.
Totally. So if you don't have to play against Oldhim, then Lexi is in a pretty good spot. There's like, that deck it's pretty strong at what it does. It definitely has like some weaknesses, right? Like if you don't manage your deck well enough, you could get fatigued by like Dory with all her armor and everything blocks for 3 or whatever. So it requires a bit of navigating, and I'm still unsure, if it, like I lost to both the Viscerais that I played, right? Like I'm 0-2 against Viscerai. I did beat the Starvo, but who knows how that deck will evolve, if it'll, adapt to handling Lexi or what'll happen there. But I do feel like Lexi is in a decent position. So my rankings would go Viscerai, number 1.
Agreed.
Starvo, number 2, but up there with them. I do think Prism players have some like dialing in to do with that deck, but I think that Prism is definitely like, Prism's up there. Chain, I don't know.
Yeah.
Jury's out for Chain for me, but it's like put up the numbers, right? Like Tarek won with Chain, a bunch of Chains won a bunch. It like, just the numbers say it's like really, really powerful. Lexi hasn't really put up the numbers, but just based on the tournament that I played, it felt decent, right? It felt like,
Well, yeah, you had 2 in the top 8.
Oh yeah, totally. Like not S tier, but maybe like A tier, B tier, probably A tier.
I think A tier.
It just feels like it feels decent into the current meta, I guess. Like well equipped for what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy about that. It made for a fun experience for me to like choose and play a good choice for the weekend. So do you foresee any changes? So we have this coming weekend, which we'll be playing in, and then we have a weekend after that. Do you have any like dark horses, or is any deck going to rise or fall? Right. I mean, I already said I think Oldhim is plummeting.
Yeah. I think we're gonna see more Viscerais making like top 8s and winning events. I think the Starvos are not going anywhere, and I think more people are going to run Viscerai to counter Starvo. I think Viscerai's got a decent matchup in the Starvo.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, I mean, Viscerai has some really powerful defense reactions, right? If that's the way you're going. You also have the ability to bank damage that then kind of like double pays. Like, it gives you a bonus and it's bank damage. So even if your hand gets disrupted for one turn, you're not completely
Right.
lost. So just the versatility of that Viscerai deck to handle like something like Starvo, as well as something like Oldhim, is just like super impressive. Or to flex super aggro into Prism, it's.
Yeah, I think Prism struggles against aggro, so I think that's going to keep Prism kind of out of the top in this meta.
Yeah, especially like weird numbers Viscerai. Like you can't block all that damage, so you can definitely hit your spectral shields or your auras or whatever.
Yeah. I think she's going to continue to struggle, but probably still turn up in big numbers. I think Lexi could do a really good job, but I think kind of what we've seen in the past, like there's just not going to be that many people running them for her to put up the numbers that the other ones will. Just not because of I think she's really good. It's just there's not that many people running it, so she's not going to put up the numbers that you'd expect for her power level. I think Chain is probably going to come up a little bit. I think is like Tarek's list and and the success he's had. I think Chain's not going anywhere. I don't think Rune Blades are going anywhere. I'm a little surprised at where CMH Briar's at. I think it's still a good deck, but I think it's going to decline as people pivot to Viserai and Chain off of her. I don't know. I can make a couple more predictions, but Starvo's sticking around. No, he's not going anywhere.
I disagree with Heroic Briar. I think Briar could be and maybe will be like really powerful in the future, but I think as it stands, that deck is just like, I just think for highly skilled players like Viserai or Chain, I guess Chain now, I don't know that much about Chain, but it just seems like Viserai is just like a better choice than Heroic Briar at the moment.
Yeah.
But, you know, we may see more Briar in the future. The funny thing is like, you know, Briar is the same as Viserai, right? Like, Viserai makes a bit more damage in the form of Rune Chance, but Briar has her ability and access to more cards. So, I don't know. I guess just those big, like, Mordred Tide turns where you make a bunch more Rune Chance make Viserai worth not having the, you know, embodiments or...
Yeah, I would just argue that I think there's a lot of potential there in Briar, but I think that the deck lists so far have kind of reflected the old meta pre-ban, and I've just kind of been patches on that to make up for it, and that in this Everfest and post-ban era, like, her core has not been figured out yet. I think she's got a lot of potential, like you said, but somebody's going to have to make a breakthrough for it to get popular again.
Yeah, something a bit more consistent or a bit different. All right, we got a couple listener questions. I went fishing for people's input on today's topic, and our first request was make a bold prediction about the ProQuest in May.
A bold prediction. Okay. Axe Dory top 8.
Whoa.
Well, you want a bold prediction? I think Dory's going to come out. She's my dark horse.
Nice.
Yep. That's my bold prediction.
Nice. So mine is going to be Lexi top 4.
All right.
I mean, I'm pretty biased, but...
Ice or lightning?
I don't know. They just both have, like, pretty good potential. Like, that lightning deck is really good. It's a bit fragile, you know, to, like, Starvo or Ice Lexi. But it's, like, damage potential is, like, pretty good.
Sure.
And then Ice, you know, again, runs into the problem where you're only doing, like... I mean, you can shift gears and do more every other turn, but sometimes if you're just trying to hold tempo, you're only doing, like, 12 damage a turn. So even if you hold tempo, you're not, like, winning the game very fast. But, you know, despite that, it's like, it's just looking at the current meta. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to call a Lexi top 4.
Right on.
All right, there you go. There's your bold predictions. So then we have one more.
I got a question for you.
What's that?
Okay, I think the next ban announcement is going to be first week of April, like, or maybe second week of April.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Post.
Oh, right.
I guess. Yeah. So, do you think any cards are going to get banned?
No.
Dang, I don't think so either.
Definitely not.
Yeah, as frustrated as I am about the whole Sonata, Bloodsheath, Spellbound Creepers thing, it's just like, it's really, really, really good. It's not like broken good, though. It's just flirting with the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sonata, yeah, like you said, the Skeleta Sonata Creepers combo is like the most powerful thing in the game by far. Because you can just do a little baby one and it still is like huge value.
Yeah.
It's like pretty nuts, even if you only do it with 6 rune chance or if you do it with 20. But again, that deck is like not yet oppressive.
No.
It's like still very beatable. So definitely no ban.
Yep. My only vote would be Errata Rosetta Thorn to where it's elemental, because that makes sense.
That's a good point. I 100% agree. Rosetta is just like so far above curve. I know it has a requirement, but you're incentivized. You're like rewarded for playing a non-attack and attack in other ways. And then you're rewarded through Rosetta, and it's like 1 for 5 with Viscerai, 1 for 4 with Briar, in like a way you can't block with a 3 block and just take 1. There's just so many ways that it's just like by far the best weapon in the game. I don't, again, it's like there are other really good decks out there, right? Like Viscerai is not broken, so maybe Rosetta's not broken. But if you just line it up with weapons, it's just like pretty absurd.
Yeah.
But I hear you, but I'm not calling for a ban on Rosetta. I don't
want to see them either. I don't want to see a ban. I don't want to see an errata. It's just they're messy. They're ugly.
Well, just give some good weapons to everybody else too.
Yeah, but I mean, then you're getting into.
I guess Winter's Wail is pretty good. Voltaire's pretty good.
Yeah, I personally I don't want to see the game increase in power anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Rosetta's like flirting with the limit. Otherwise, it's going to be like Blitz and Constructed. I mean...
Yeah, which we don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's like a point for a whole nother discussion, but it is... It's interesting to think about, right? Because like Rosetta is so powerful, or certain things are so powerful, and then you want to like bring other classes up to that power level to make them playable, but then you don't want to start this arms race where, old cards become irrelevant or power creep is just like a thing per set, which I think they've done a pretty good job of so far, right? Like Katsu is from Welcome to Wraith.
Yeah. And
you haven't been given that many new cards and can still play the game now. So like, like Chain was busted, maybe like Plunder Run was busted or whatever, but it's just like in general, they've done a pretty good job about keeping a lid on the power creep. But
yeah, I kind of disagree with that slightly. To me, Arya felt like a power creep, but
even though you just top 8'd with Katsu?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But I will say anybody's complaint about Rosetta is pretty valid. That's fair.
Yep. Sorry, Taylor, you're not here, but
yeah,
he would shut this down.
Let's just rail on Runeblaze.
All right, so maybe 2022 will be the year of something else besides Runeblade, but so far not yet.
Totally, so. Probably Guardian. It seems.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if Starvo's like almost the top deck, so that I wouldn't mind if it was Guardian. It's just like Starvo feels kind of like a meme deck, kind of like Benji feels like now.
Totally, Starvo feels pretty cartoonish.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, like, in my one game of experience, playing against that deck, it's, like, super fragile. Like, if you somehow disrupt or strip one card, their game plan is, like, off.
Yeah.
Like, they can still fuse Oakenold you, but anyway, it's just, like, it's, like, as fragile as you'd expect. Hitting them with disruption is, like, pretty fantastic.
I wouldn't know. That's Katsu. I just got Oakenolded in testing 3 times in a row, fused, and then it was fused with Pulse of Candlehold, so then it just put it back on top. So it was 4 turns in a row of fused Oakenold.
Oh, nice. That's a good move.
Yeah, that's
the
super
Pulse
good.
Yeah.
Fuse it with it 3 times in a row, and then, yeah. Okay, anyways.
All right, so we have one more question. I love this. I said, shoot me any questions you have, and Jordan said, don't tell me how to live my life. So shout out to Jordan. Great response.
Is
But
that like a question? Are we supposed to tell Jordan how to live his life now?
he also said,
Bro, less carbs, more fiber.
now that Azalea has a top 8, is it time for the Prince of Precision to dominate the field? Also, Redliner? So my answer to the first part of that question is I'm trying very hard. I almost did it. By the way, it kind of sucks to runner up. I don't really mind losing in like the quarters or something, but you really go a long way to lose, which is, I mean, just fine, but it's just like so close you can taste it. But I will keep trying. My thoughts on Azalea, though, is like she got some really powerful tools, and now I think she has a very good role in the meta of like kind of policing, because defense reactions are so above curve or whatever if you're just trying to turtle. So I think it's like pretty cool that she can police that, and I kind of hope that maybe there's like a turtle sometime in the future, so I can play Azalea and like rip through them. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't really like Dreadbore. I don't think it's that good. But
well, I mean, if you're coming in for like, dominate for 8 or 11 and they can't play defense reactions from hand or arsenal, it's like pretty good against some decks. Plus, if you hit them with a battering bolt in that same turn, they have to discard their defense reactions and lose life for it. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But
well, maybe there's like a tri-shot, Redliner, pitch stack, I don't know, Azalea out there somewhere.
well, that brings me to the second part of that question. Redliner, hell no. That bow's terrible. Sorry to any Redliner fans.
Tri-shot, pew, 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 pew.
So what do you do on your not tri-shot turns?
Pew. That's all you got. But it's free.
No way.
All your arrows cost what they cost,
Just
no taxes.
The power of like Voltaire giving you go again, or Death Dealer drawing a card just like far outweigh. Because the problem with Redliner is you only have so many free arrows, and you still don't have go again or can load it again, right? So then it's like, I don't know, if you want to use any of the good arrows, you have to pitch a card anyway, so you might as well pitch a card to pay for the bow and the arrow. I don't know. Anyway, not into Redliner, and I will try to win an event with Ranger.
Sweet. I mean, you top 8 with Azalea once, so
Totally.
yeah.
If I like win the next event, I might just take Azalea or Kano to the following one, but it's undecided. I'm just going to bring a few decks, I think, and see how it goes this weekend. All right. I guess that about wraps it up. Anyway, I hope that our, rambling through our past weekend's experience, just gave you guys a bit of insight into, just what's happening in the meta, the kind of decks we saw, our impressions of, just if anybody couldn't make it last weekend, we were boots on the ground reporting back.
Yep.
So time for our signature segment.
What?
Game from the Closet.
Is that the signature segment? I thought there was Pick, Pass, Pray.
No, that's Taylor's.
That's Taylor's? Okay.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to steal it from him.
Okay.
So we're going to skip Pick, Pass, Pray.
Okay.
So we're going to go straight to Game from the Closet.
Okay.
Here at the Attack Action Podcast, we love to play many board games, and sometimes we like to share one of them with you guys. This might not be the best board game in the world or our favorite, but it's one we really love, and we hope you may enjoy as well. Today's board game from the closet is Mitch's board game.
I'm going to go with Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails.
Ooh, nice.
Yep. I've been playing Ticket to Ride for a long time, and I've always enjoyed it. It's just a game that you can pick up and play. There's no setup really required, and even like a beginning player can learn it and do well at it. Rails and Sails picks it up a little bit. It's still maybe a little harder for a first timer, but it's still pretty good. You play on a giant map that's the whole world, and it's two-sided. You get to play the world and the Great Lakes, which is cool. And there's boats and trains, so that's cool. I don't know. I've had a lot of good times playing it. I hope you do too.
I agree. That's a great game. It's like you said, like somebody who's never played a board game can sit down and play it. And also, like, as avid board gamers, we still really love to play it.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of a rare thing.
Yeah, and I do appreciate those games because, sometimes, like, I don't know, when you're not invested in the game to, like, be good at it on the third time around and have a chance at winning, I do appreciate those games too. But especially when you got, like, random people coming into your group and, like, playing board games, it, like, really helps to kind of start with something that they can be competitive in. So, yeah, always had a good time with it. Highly recommend it.
Nice. Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Rails and Sales. I have so many riddle me thises from this set, but I haven't really articulated one. So,
all right, off the top of my head, all right, riddle me this. Any of the talismans from Everfest. I've gotten, like, I've tested a little bit with Talisman of Featherfoot and Katsu, and I think it's okay. It's not fantastic. A lot of times you end up wanting to, like, +1 with Ancestral Empowerment to get the mass trigger, or something like that, and then you end up fizzling it. But I could see its potential. If you run, like, lunging presses and Ancestral Empowerment, so then, like, your breaking scales basically allows you to, like, start in the middle of a combo chain and keep going, which is cool. But that's the closest I've got to cracking this riddle.
Nice.
Maybe recompense for Katsu also.
Totally.
So you could, like, pitch a red for Kodachis.
I'm calling it. Recompense is really good.
Yeah. But get back to me on that. I need the answers.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are really powerful, like the one that if your opponent plays 2 of the same card, they discard 2 cards. It's not really powerful now, but if you played that turn 1, then for the rest of the game it sits out there and they're playing, like, you know, Lightning Briar with, like, 9 plunder runs or whatever, then they can, like, never play 2 of those cards. There's a lot of decks that run 9 of a card.
Yeah, I mean, who are the legit targets for that? Like,
right now,
on, like, Mob Skies or
not
something?
many.
Or
yeah, not many at the moment.
Yeah,
just
like Ninja on 100 wins. I don't know. And it doesn't have Go Again to play the potion because it's blue.
That amulet doesn't. No, they. Oh God, I don't have these pulled up, but some of the blue ones do have Go Again. Like the Talisman of Balance or whatever. If you don't have an Arsenal card,
oh yeah,
then it puts the top card of your deck in Arsenal. That one does have Go Again and is blue to play. So anyway,
that one
we digress.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us to discuss our latest ProQuest adventure, and share some, Katsu insight and a different perspective on the game.
Yeah. I think you don't have to play the very top tier deck to have a good time. So
Totally. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think to a lot of, like, the best players out there, like, I don't think the goal is necessarily to win everything, or I don't know. I think, even in sports, like, the best athletes are sometimes the ones who just enjoy it the most. So.
Yep. The best climber in the world is the one having the most fun. Alex Lowe.
What, is that the one that climbs no ropes? I don't think that's fun.
It's a quote. No, it's not. But it's just a quote that you could apply to Flesh and Blood anyway. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good night.
Adios.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBroTaylor and at BattleBroIsaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.